Hey, this is Davin with REDLINE Rebuilds. Today's going to be slightly different. We're not doing anything mechanical. We're going to address a situation that everybody wants our pickup truck to look a little nicer. So we're going to do a little bit of polishing. Now, with that said, I'm going to call Larry Kosilla from AMMO NYC, and he's going to walk me through his process. He specializes in, call it refurbishing barn finds or field finds in our case. So I'm going to get him on the phone, and then we're going to get to work. Hey Larry, this is Davin. I'm here with our 1950 Chevy pickup truck in the background here.
Yeah, I see it there. Pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's my understanding you have some good ideas for our next step on our truck. But first, give me a little background on yourself as far as what you and your company are doing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we've been at AMMO NYC. We've been filming videos for probably 9 or 10 years now. We have 500-600 videos online where I basically find something that needs to be restored in the woods or neglected or forgotten, or a big one is biomold, or there's poop and dead animals, all kinds of horrible things in a car. And basically we restore that, pull it back out, and either donate it to charity, which is Cars for Kids, or give it back to the owner who neglected it for a long time, and sort of reveal that process. And people seem to dig it. But in that whole process, we're educating, hopefully, people at home to learn how to do something on their car and bring it back to life and sort of enjoy that moment, that bit of therapy, if you will. So that's kind of the short version of what we're doing on the channel there, and it's going well.
Right on, cool, excellent. Well, I certainly understand what NYC means. I'm assuming at least it's New York City. But is there any meaning behind the AMMO side of things?
Yeah, the short version is years ago when I was detailing a car, I would bring all of my stuff, for the lack of a better word, what we call ammo. Now, all my stuff around the car so that I could have it in some sort of pattern and walk around and grab things, and just so it's easy to touch, easy to grab. And then one of my clients came over and goes, "Oh my gosh, that is a whole lot of ammo." And this is when I was first starting out, and I was like, "Wow, that's a cool name." And I kept it in the back of my mind for whatever X amount of years. Right. And then sure enough, I said, "You know what? That's a pretty cool name." And then we did that. I was a detailer for years. And then, I got into the manufacturing aspect and consulting and all that. And we thought, hey, if we stick it on a bottle that says ammo, et cetera, that'd be pretty cool. And again, that was, 9-10 years ago, and the rest is history.
Awesome. Oh, that's great. I like that. That's excellent. It's always good to hear the backside of, where names and that type of stuff come from. So that's cool. Awesome. Well, hey, you mentioned your specialty, though, was vehicles that came out of, like, obscure, ugly areas. So the woods in northern Michigan will probably count here.
That'll qualify for sure.
So it's most of the moss and that type of stuff is pretty well dead at this point, but it certainly has that nice film of, call it mildew. We did power wash the inside of it out to get rid of most of the mice and squirrel chips. But we're really looking after, well, put it this way, I caught a lot of flack because I wasn't painting everything on the vehicle.
Right.
And
there's something to that as well. Don't feel bad. It's nice to bring something back from and restore it and not necessarily repaint it. So I know there's two schools of thought, but I'm a big fan of restoring what's there. But anyhow.
Exactly. And that's where we're at with this vehicle is the point of our matter, or, the subject matter was to pull this truck out of the woods and give it a fresh life as it stood. Meaning, kind of like here's all my wear and tear and my badges of honor throughout the years, and now this truck is now back on the road in a viable piece of transportation for us to use in the shop, and of course, if we can put any glimmer back into the paint, that'd be awesome. I mean, it's kind of that ugly green color, if you will, from the 50s, but hey.
I think the first thing you sort of have to mentally think about is, when was this car painted. In this case, it doesn't look like it's been repainted at any time soon. So what year is that? You said in the 50s, yes?
It's a 1950. Yes.
1950, exactly. Okay,
Yep.
so right on the button there. So clearly, well before clear coats and that sort of two-stage, however you want to describe it. So back in those days, those types of paint jobs are what we call non-catalyzed, meaning they didn't harden. Think of it sort of like an example of spray paint. So if you were to spray paint and spray paint a chair or whatever, when that comes out, it's got the solvents and the liquids, and it comes out and sticks there, but there's no cross-linking. It's not changing. It's not doing something like these modern cars of today. And so from a detailing perspective, you kind of have to approach it. You figure out what it is, which clearly this is a 1950s and nothing's been done. Right. And then you go down that particular route. So back in the day, let's say 60s, 70s, whatever, they would restore these types of cars by using a heavy grit compound. In the day, you could hear this. You could hear the actual grit. You can't hear that anymore because they're super micro abrasives, in modern technology. But anyways, you would use something that had heavy grit, and then afterwards you would use something called hand glaze, which was basically, again, on Mr. Analogy, putting some makeup on the car. Wouldn't last very long, but some of the things that Meguiar's back in the day, super show car glaze, something along those lines, they would call it, where you would put this sort of material on there. It would look shiny, and you were good to go. But it didn't really restore anything as far as I'm concerned. Now, moving to your case, with the way that it is now, meaning painted in the past, and we have new technology, meaning super micro, you call them SMAT, S-M-A-T, super micro abrasive technology. You can do some fun things and not blow your shoulder out at the same time while you're trying to do it by hand. So what you're going to need is a few modern tools, like a dual action polisher in this case, because you have a very large surface, meaning more Cadillac and less Ferrari, meaning it's curved, it's got some
flat areas.
Yeah, big flat areas, exactly. So you're going to use something like maybe a 6-inch dual action polisher with a 6-inch pad, of course. Probably something like foam. Again, it's hard to, if I was there, I could kind of feel it and smell it, but I got the idea. Something like a red foam, maybe from Meguiar's, or a yellow one from Rupes. And then I think I saw in your shop there, you had some M105 and M110, which is, again, a super micro abrasive, a modern technology. What you're going to do is, we call it a mow down, meaning, in truth, Kevin Brown came up with this. He's an absolutely amazing detailer. It's called the mow down because you envision approaching this car like this. Imagine that car behind you right now had weeds like your lawn that were up to 6 inches, a foot long. You're not going to take your regular lawnmower and just mow the lawn, right? They're too high. It's going to overwhelm the lawnmower. So in this mow down technique, first thing you want to do is weed whack it. Again, analogy. So in this case, you're going to put more liquid. I think you have 105 or 110 or whatever it is that you have there. A modern abrasive, not the old stuff. Modern abrasive. You're going to overwhelm the pad. Put lots of it on there. It's going to be kind of messy and greasy and junky, but that's the way it works. And you kind of go in there and you move your hands and your arms, your arm speed, we call it, very quickly, because you're not mowing the lawn beautifully. You're just whacking everything down. So what happens is all that dead skin on the paint that's behind you, that gray, looks like all dried, nasty stuff, is going to get embedded into that pad. And then you're going to use compressed air, blow it out, because you have to remove it from the pad. Then you go back, put a little bit more compound on there. Then you can start cutting the lawn. Do you get the idea of the mow down technique? You see that? So the first thing is just whack it down. Then you can go in and refine it. And so that's a broad way of saying what I would do to that paint to kind of restore it. The little asterisk or caveat on this conversation is to make sure that you have enough paint there. That's kind of the trick to this whole thing. So I would imagine, I can only see a little bit behind you there. There's a little bit of rust going on and whatnot. So in certain situations, you could be doing all this wonderful stuff, but if you're mowing the lawn and then you look down, you realize, oh, wait a second, there's no grass there. Why mow the lawn? You see?
Right on.
Get where I'm going with that? Does that make sense?
And I'm going to assume that obviously when we get around all the rough edges and the different rusted areas, that is going to require something slightly different approach, maybe.
On the edges?
Yeah. So like, for instance, like in the center of the hood, you have some rusted areas that come through. Now I see these different, vehicles at shows and that where there's rust, but it's smooth, right? It's smoothed off. Are they just addressing that with a real light sandpaper then?
Yeah, I would, again, I can't speak to what they're doing on that one, but I would probably say without me actually seeing and feeling it up close, you could probably use some sort of grit, 1,000, minus 1,000, anything, 1,000, 1,200, anything, 800, whatever, and sort of take off the top layer. I'm not sure if it's bubbling or what it's doing. Take off that top layer just to kind of slow the rate of oxidation it's sort of like putting it in a nursing home. Just give it the best life you can, but it's not going to go run a marathon unless you follow what I'm saying. So slow that rate down. And then immediately, when you're done with the whole process and everything looks great and there's a little bit more depth, maybe a bit more shine, then you can put some protection on there and sort of, in a realistic manner, slow the rate of oxidation. That's only people think you put something on there, hey, we're done, it's going to last forever. That's not always the case, especially in something that's in the condition that I'm seeing behind you right now.
Sure, right, okay. Obviously, probably like polishing anything, keep the polisher moving at all times to minimize that burn through type of function.
Yeah, by default, the polishers themselves sort of negate that, meaning if you were to use a rotary polisher, yeah, you're going to have to keep, there's a little more skill involved in that. You have to keep your hands, your arm speed, we call it, moving, keep the speed of the polisher down, and of course the pressure of your weight of the machine at a minimum. But in this case, I would recommend using a dual action polisher because it kind of takes away those variables, so you won't be in too much trouble. Your main thing you're going to worry about is that paint is going to come off, that dead skin is going to come off so fast that it's going to encompass the pad that you're using, and it's going to negate what you're doing. It's sort of like mowing the lawn and then having, when the lawn gets stuck in the lawnmower and then when you keep cutting it, you're not actually cutting anything.
Yeah, it's going to fill the holes in the pad, I would assume.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
Clog it up. Okay.
Yep. So you got it conscious all the time. Maybe do a 1 foot by 1 foot area, blow out the pad. I'm sure you have compressed air. I mean, I see all the lines and stuff. I'm sure you have compressed air back there. You blow it out.
We got lots of air.
Yeah, I can see all the lines in the background.
Some of it's even hot, if you know what I'm saying.
That's nice. Yeah, you guys will be in good shape. You'll have a good time. And make sure you take a picture before and after of the guy's shirt, who's ever doing it. If that's you, 'cause it's going to be green. It's going to look like a green blood bath. So enjoy yourself.
Well, it's funny because I have some jumpsuits that are actually 100% white that we used in the Great Race a few years ago, and they're hanging over here in the closet. So I think I'll put that in as
you're gonna have an art
an
piece,
example.
like
Exactly.
Piece of art. It's gonna be great. I love it. I dig it.
Right. Okay. Cool. Now, once we get all the way through all that and everything's polished out, what you mentioned putting something on top of that afterwards. Now, I'm going to assume it's slightly more intense than just throwing on a coat of kerosene and wiping it down with oil, which I know has been done in the past. So.
Right. You mean in terms of protection?
Yeah.
In terms of protection, yeah. I mean, there's so much protection out there that it's hard to, obviously I'm from AMMO, so I would promote the AMMO product, but there's amazing products out there, of course, and they range everything from the basic, let's say hand glaze, which we mentioned before, which has a little bit of protection at the same time, a bit of abrasives. Again, that's older technology, doesn't last a lot longer. Right. Then we have carnauba wax, of course, comes from the carnauba tree, very shiny, lots of depth and shine, and it looks great, super easy to do, but it doesn't last very long. Then we have synthetic type things like sealants, which last a whole lot longer, and they're chemically engineered to be able to give you a little bit more shine, a little bit more depth and protection on a long-term basis, which might be nice on single stage. And then of course we jump up to these coatings, and there's just the run the gamut of all these coatings. But sometimes some of them work well on single stage, and some of them don't. I think the majority of coatings out there, I believe, are really more focused on the two-stage or the clear-coated paints. Right. That's where most of them are sort of tested, and not so much on these, sort of single stage, non-catalyzed type paint. Right. So that's a long way of saying my opinion on this particular one is probably just to go, I have a product called AMMO Skin or some sort of your favorite synthetic sealant. It'll get you that happy medium between the hand glaze and wax and the happy medium between the longer term coatings, if that makes sense. It's a no-brainer. It's super safe and simple. And the truth of the matter is, I'm sure that's not going to be driven daily and parked under a tree or whatever. Now it's probably going to be loved from now on, right? So, yeah,
it's going to see more love than it's seen in the last 30 years. It already has, for that matter. So, okay, cool.
Put some sealant on there and call it a day. But it's going to be, because it's single stage. Keep in mind, it's going to be sticky because this paint is very porous. It's single stage. That's why so much is going to come off, right? So when you put sealants on, it tends to become a little bit stickier on single stage. So the moral of the story is decrease the size that you're working on your surface area and then put it on and wipe it off. Put it on and wipe, as opposed to doing the entire car in sealant and then coming back and trying to wipe it off. Your shoulders will pop off. You won't be able to get it off.
Right on.
So keep that in mind.
All right. Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Well, I would go further in the discussion and ask you how to detail the interior, but quite frankly, we don't have an interior. There's just a seat with brand new vinyl on it.
Then I have great advice for you. You take that power washer out and you go. No, I'm just kidding.
We did that.
You did
it's
that
amazing how many leaves and different paraphernalia the squirrels can haul in there. So
that's the most exciting part. When I'm pulling these cars apart now, I go into the air box. That's kind of like when you find treasured buried gold or something like that. I go into the wheel of death, we call it, and the air box, and you see how many animals or squirrels or whatever are living in there. That's kind of my my treasure box.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Larry, so that was a ton of great information. I greatly appreciate it, and I'm going to put all that ammo to use because that'll be awesome for us, and we'll make this thing look a whole lot nicer. And of course, we'll be getting some of that sealer from you so we can seal this off. Now, if I'm at home and I have nothing, do you have like a product kit or a starter kit or something like that would be useful for call it the average guy that has something in the backyard or in the garage that's neglected and needs some attention?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, our focus at ammonyc.com, of course, we have a new website that's up, but we've been around a long time. My mission, of course, with the website is to minimize this confusion because it is very confusing. And there's products for everything, which makes sense to some degree, but we've tried to really simplify it and narrow everything down. So to answer your question, yes, of course, we have a thing called the paint regimen kit. We have a wheel regimen kit. We have an interior regimen kit. So a lot of people will come and say, hey, I'm not exactly sure what to do. I have a whole host of videos that show you how to use the product, as well as examples, just like you're doing here behind you on this car, that shows them the ins and outs of how to use the product. But specifically, yes, we have our three major kits, which is the paint regimen, which comes with a bunch of products, the wheel regimen, and then the interior. So it kind of focuses on, hey, I'm not too concerned about the outside. I just want to, clean up the mess from my kids in the back seat or whatever. Okay, then you're going to focus on the interior. Or I got a hot rod with 20-inch wheels or whatever. Focus on the wheels, and then likewise with the paint. So yeah, it's pretty simplified on the website. So I appreciate you asking for sure. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, good deal. Well, hey, thank you very much. I certainly appreciate your time. And unfortunately, it sounds like I got a lot of work to get done, but hey, that's the way it goes. Awesome. Thank you, sir. Bye now. All right, so that was a lot of very good information. I'm going to do my best to apply that now. I went through our cupboard and just kind of grabbed a couple things that I have laying around from some previous stuff, just a orbital polisher here, and some just general compound and some detailer. So we'll see what we get. But he has some very good DIY style videos. So please go to Larry's channel up here, AMMO NYC, and go through those details and apply them to your project. In the meantime, I'm going to see if this old suit still fits. Now you're going to say old, it looks like it's brand new. It's been washed very well. Okay, well, if I can get the zipper to work, there we go. So let's take and apply some tape to this door. One of the things Larry mentioned, like here where there is no paint, it's literally the steel rust coming through. I'm going to use just some 400 grit sandpaper and basically wet sand it just to get the sharpness off of the rust. So if I go over it with the foam pad, as this is spinning, that foam pad will just tear up pretty bad here. So I'm going to do that. But otherwise, I'm just going to use a ton of compound. He said just make it wet and drooly on the first couple hits and just see what happens. And then final polish it a little more finesse. Let's put a stripe right down the door. Now, I'd like to actually keep this line here. That's the original hand-painted pinstripe. And what I'll do is I'll go over that by hand. I've been down this path before, and I don't want to lose that sentimental detail. So we're going to just protect that. Let's pull this back if I can get hold of it. Pull this back and give you an idea of what that looks like. Let's get that edge off, and you can see that's that's quite a bit of difference. So if we're getting fairly shiny, and of course this is that dull look of the old paint. As Larry explained it, it's like having dead skin. So you wash out the dead skin. So we've exfoliated this side, and this side is, well, not. All right, we'll work here on just this top section. So in my mind, I'm done with the rubbing compound. And I'm just gonna throw a little bit of this kind of a waxy stuff on here. See what we get for final. This will give us a good idea what the final result will be. And I could certainly take, like Larry is saying, and put a glazing compound and all that and really buff the daylights out of it. But let's put in this amount of effort and see what we look like. All right, so let's put this in some context. This pickup truck has been sitting in a field, or in our case, the woods, right? And sunk up to here. Of course, I'm not going to be able to polish out these running boards, but look how nice and shiny this paint has gotten from just a little bit of elbow grease, or at least machine grease here. And it's been 40 years sitting, and it shined up so nice. It's going to be amazing. Again, is this going to be a show quality? Hey, we're going to run her to Pebble Beach and show it on the grass? Absolutely not. But I'm going to tell you what, we can shoot down the road and get our parts where we're going. It's going to be shiny. It's going to be a good 100-footer. And at the end of the day, we're going to enjoy it. Hey Larry, how you been doing?
Well, yourself, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I finally got all the rubbing compound and wax out of my teeth, so I thought I would show you what we got.
I'm dying to see it. Turn it around. Let me see.
All right.
Wow. It's actually green this time. It's not rust.
Can you believe it?
I know. Unbelievable. Jeez, that looks great. How long did it take you?
Oh, about 8 hours, I guess, total.
Nice. And then how many pads did you go through? A lot?
Oh, no, we didn't go too many. Probably 4 of them, I guess.
That's a decent amount.
Overall, not too bad.
And then what do you have on for protection?
That's as far as we got. So that's the next question.
Yeah, protection. You're definitely going to need that now, because now all the dead skin is gone. The sort of that original color is coming back to the surface. That's why it looks so good. So that when you take it outside, it's sort of like taking, if you were to exfoliate your skin kind of thing and then walk outside, it's all exposed. It's really going to absorb that light kind of thing. So now you got to put some either sealant or wax or a coating on there or something of that nature to kind of slow the degrading from the sun, the UV light, and you'll be in good shape. It won't fade as fast, that's for sure.
Okay, right on. Okay. So like, well, I'll look at your site and get some of your wax that you recommend there.
Ammo Skin is the one, is a sealant. Ammo Cream is the carnauba wax. It doesn't last as long, but it's very shiny. And then the newest and greatest product, latest and greatest thing I have out there is called Ammo Reflex Pro. If you put that on there, then now you've really sort of encapsulated the way it looks, and it's going to stay like that for at least a year or two, and it might be a good choice. It depends, it depends on what you want there, but plenty of options for protection for sure.
It's pretty sweet. I mean, even like in the dents, big pucker marks in the fender where, probably a piece of wood got dropped at one point in time, and
it's got nice patina. Leave it there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's pretty wild how well it turned out. It's amazing how even just with the, like I said, just the polish on there, how shiny it is. It almost looks oily when you first look at it. It's like, wow, you just wiped it down with oil, but it's not.
And back in those days, they would do things like that, like clean them with gasoline and
Right.
Diesel fuel and things like that. So that's you're not too far off. I bet you
Right.
did put oil on them years ago, I would imagine.
Yeah, I've always heard the kerosene function. Especially tractors. You wipe your tractor down with kerosene, and so cool.
It's great. Hopefully you get it running soon, and I can't wait to see you guys on the road.
Oh yeah, we'll be running here in a few weeks. We're just kind of waiting for a final a final nod, if you will. We won't say what that nod is, but and then we can be legal going down the road.
Gotcha. I understood. I can read between the lines. Well, congratulations. It looks great.
Yeah, cool.
Keeping me in the loop. Be well.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your help. I appreciate it. We'll be in touch.
Yeah, man.
Yep. Well, hey, you can tell by looking at this truck, it is a whole different animal now. And it's shiny and it's patinaed like it had, but it's not as grungy, I guess we'll say. It is really nice. In fact, it's even smooth in some spots. But hey, it was phenomenal working with Larry. He's got a ton of information. I honestly didn't think that this was going to be that in depth, if you will, as far as what's out there for information, opposed to just grab some putty and polish her and be done. Well, it's a little more than that, but at the same time, look what 8 hours turned. I mean, pretty quick, not bad. So go check out Larry's YouTube channel and his website at AMMO NYC, and he's got tons more videos. He's got a lot of cool stuff he works on. And hey, that's a wrap for us today. And well, my work's done. I'm going for a ride. See ya.